Hey yo guys, Tally here, and today we are taking a look at PRANKIDS, which are actually really fun. They're a delightful deck to mess around with. They are the deck that most desperately needs a Link 1 and maybe a Link 3, but I've borrowed my friend Ross's deck, I've made some slight adjustments to it. Overall, this is mostly his. I've thrown in a couple of tech ideas and a couple of other cards that I think would work well in the deck to support it and allow it to thrive. So let's dive right in, guys, and take a look at the deck. Okay, starting off with our monster count. We are playing pretty much free of every PRANKIDS, and I'm gonna be honest, that's not enough. This deck is desperately needing a couple of more names because honestly it just cycles through a lot of these resources really quickly. It does have the ability to really recycle the resources. Actually, you can get a lot of use out of your resources, but by god, if you can't use a couple of copies of these cards every single turn and really dump them into your graveyard. But the deck does have some inbuilt recursion to allow you to do that. So let's very quickly break it down. All of these cards, when they're used as the material for summon of a PRANKIDS extra deck monster, so a fusion or a link in their case, they get to special summon one that's not themselves from the deck. Also, they'll have their individual abilities. So this card will burn your opponent for 500, which is great in time. It has cost me a couple of games before. This card also very good in time because you gain plus 1000 life points. So these two together can actually really start to chip away at your opponent and make that big difference and start to really just put some distance between you and them life point wise. Because you're playing with your life points so often, you can actually afford to manipulate your life points in a lot of different ways. Fancies is the Foolish Burial for the deck. It'll let you send a PRANKIDS card essentially, and this is kind of like a Dark World Dealings. It lets you banish a card to draw one card, so it lets you cycle through your deck a wee bit more, maybe get those unsearchable cards that you've got, and then it also lets you get a little bit more, I don't know, refresh your hand. Sometimes you draw multiples of hard ones per turns and you don't really need them, so they'd be better used elsewhere. So that is our monster count for the PRANKIDS monsters. As I said, I would quite like to see more PRANKIDS monsters coming in, but so far, this is what we've got. Other than that, we're running some hand traps, so we're running 2 Ash and 2 Ogre. The deck also runs Infinite Impermanence, which we'll show you later on. So I think roughly about 7 hand traps is good for the deck. You don't want to clog up too much. I've had a couple of hands where I've opened multiples of these multiple times, and I just thought, let's cut it down a wee bit. It is a going first strategy, so we want to be able to set up lots of different points of interaction, and as well, you do really need to combo off properly. You need to see at least 2 different PRANKIDS monsters in your hand, so I would rather not see multiples of Ash and Ogre that really you don't get so much use out of later on, especially drawn in multiples. Next as well, we have PRANKIDS Place, which is essentially your big searcher of the deck. It searches out your PRANKIDS monsters and allows you to just kind of plus a little bit, get your momentum going. It also does things based on when you summon a link or a fusion monster. Either it boosts your attack by 500 or it reduces your opponent's attack by 500 depending on what you get. So again, pretty decent. Again, just allows you to grab what you need to. And next we have 2 PRANKIDS Pandemonium and 2 PRANKIDS Plan. It only came with 1 plan, but I think 2 is the right number because you want to be able to increase your chances of drawing into it. You want to be able to get it a wee bit more often into your hands, and you also want to be able to send it off of fansies. So I think 2 is the right number. I think 2 is the right number for both of these. So let's just break it down. This lets you fusion summon during your opponent's turn, which is quite integral to the deck's plays because it has some quite powerful fusion monsters, and this allows you to link summon during your opponent's turn. Again, it's got some quite powerful link monsters. It has a link Harpy's Feather Duster and a monster Raigeki, so we want to be able to get those on our opponent's turn. This also has the added benefit that in the graveyard you can banish it, and okay, so this card lets you shuffle PRANKIDS cards and banish itself to reduce your opponent's attack points. So again, if they try and ram into you, you can summon some quite beefy monsters and you can just force them to neg really, which people don't see coming. The big thing about this deck is that people don't really know what PRANKIDS do. It won a YCS one time and then people kind of knew about it a little bit, but it's fallen slightly out of relevance. So this deck is amazing for locals. This deck's amazing for just a lot of things. You could probably take a regionals as well. Pretty sure a friend of mine topped Cumbernauld Regionals ages ago with PRANKIDS. And next, because it's a fusion based deck, we have a lot of fusion cards. So we have 3 Polymerization, 2 Invocation, 1 Thunder Dragon Fusion, and 1 Instant Fusion. This is roughly right about the right number. So free polymerization. Again, your plays often start with you fusion summoning. Your plays often get going with you fusion summoning, so you want to see one of these, or even, you know, a couple of these in your hand, so that you can really start to extend. So you want to open up at least one of these and 2 prank kids with different names. So polymerization, fusion, you know, they just do things. This is quite spicy because you can summon the big boss of the deck, the big fusion boss of the deck, because it's a Thunder. So you can use Thunder Dragon Fusion, and then like if you've got other Thunders that you want to take in, you could also use that for that. And Instant Fusion has a couple of targets in the deck. All of the Prank Kids fusions are level 5 and lower, and there's also like some generic Instant Fusion targets. Again, Instant Fusion is not really a starter, but it's always a card that's good to see. And to round off the deck, we're going to take a look at our traps. So, because we have so much life point gain, like all the time, like Dropsies just always resolves, you have your Solemns, right? So you have 2 Solemn Judgment, 2 Solemn Strike, just to get a wee bit of coverage to allow you to, you know, really just maintain some advantage over your opponent. It's, again, it's not got a huge amount of negates going first. It has, you know, a Raigeki and Harpy's Feather Duster. That doesn't really translate to negates. It is powerful, but it doesn't translate to negating your opponent's actions, so you want to be able to set up a couple of negates. Again, in the perfect hand, you'd open up a fusion card, soup with different prank kids, or a way to search out prank kids, and, you know, either of these are a hand trap, really, or, you know, Infinite Impermanence, which we're running at free in this deck because it's non-once per turn and it is really good. You know, it just runs against loads and loads and loads of different decks, does really well in pretty much every meta. There's not going to be a meta where these cards here aren't relevant in some way, shape or form. And that's our big traps. And then lastly, something that I've been experimenting with and enjoying as well is the artifact package. Again, because the deck doesn't have incredible going first plays, it does have a really powerful going first play, but it requires some overextension and it requires a lot of Nibiru bait. It's good to have this as a backup. Again, you want to be able to open this up. The deck, main deck overall is 41 or 42 cards, so you want to be able to open up this without opening up this. But honestly, this is a game ender. Like, summon this in your opponent's turn and they just have to pass, in which case this deck is very capable of OTKing on your opponent's, or after your opponent's turn, after you've hit them with a Scythe or hit them with like a Solemn or 2 and a couple of hand traps maybe, you know, just depending on how your hand looks. But yeah, this is something I've really been enjoying in the deck in my online playtesting, and I'm loving it. So guys, let's move on to the extra deck. Okay, so for our extra deck, we're running a couple of fusion monsters. For our Prank Kids fusion monsters, we're running 1 Battle Butler, 1 Weather Washer, and 2 Rocket Ride. These cards, again, like, you don't need to run in huge numbers because the deck actually can recycle itself really well, because the deck can set up that plan in the graveyard to recycle all your materials and recycle all of your resources. Then it's quite easy to reuse these again and again. So ultimately, the deck has a theme. So it's got 1 monster that you can only tribute during your turn to do things, so which would be Rocket Ride, which is a good play starter. You tribute it to summon the materials that was used for it, and that kind of gets your plays going into a link play, which then gets you more advantage. You have a monster that can tribute on your opponent's turn to do things and, again, recur advantage. And you have a big boss of the summoning method. So Battle Butler contributes itself during your opponent's turn to destroy all monsters your opponent currently controls, which again is quite a powerful strategy when a lot of decks, before their key points really, and before they're able to set up their negates, don't have any destruction protection. So that's quite a big thing, considering that, you know, if you want to really stop your opponent, you can have this set up, and you just need to learn their choke points, and you can exploit those choke points. And again, if it's sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card, so it could be battle card effect, it allows you to special summon a non-fusion monster from your graveyard. So again, could potentially be another boss that we'll see in a second. And then moving on to our links, again, similar ratios. So we've got 1 Bow Wow Bark, 2 Do 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 Do, and Prank Kids Roaring Rooster, Rip Roaring Rooster. So similar ratios, you've got the one that does things during your opponent's turn, the one that's the real playmaker on your turn, and the boss. So this is the playmaker during your turn. It allows you to search out your key cards like Pandemonium that lets you fusion summon during your opponent's turn. Then you can use the Prank Kids that were used for this to summon 2 more, to summon this guy. Now, this guy is essentially your Harpy's Feather Duster on steroids. It lets you blow up your opponent's back row during their turn by tributing it. And again, Bow Wow Bark allows you to tribute it during your opponent's turn to provide a wee bit of advantage and add cards to your hand. So the Link's gimmick is they add cards to hand as opposed to summoning cards like the fusions do. Again, the deck has a very, it's I don't know, it's really hard to describe. It's like weird momentum. It's very much push and pull. It's very much come and go. It very much does a lot of things. Not linear. It's not a linear deck. It's very much a momentum based deck and how you control your tempo and pace and resource management, which makes it a really cool deck. Again, it's really fun to play. I've been enjoying playing it. And again, Roaring Rooster. If this card is sent to the graveyard by your opponent card, you can target one card in your graveyard except a link monster and add it to your hand. Right, so again, the fusion summon things, this adds it to your hand. Then we've got our generic cards. Because Prank Kids are pretty good at spamming the board, we can do lots of different things. So we have Link Karibo, because Fansies is a card. You know, Link Karibo setting up a wee bit of battle protection is always nice. Fansies is level 1, so you can search it out quite easily. You can normal summon it, set it up. This should be a Prank Kids Link 1 though, because if you could do that, then the deck would pop off religiously. Then for our Link 2s, we've got Cerberus, Nightmare, Phoenix, and we have Unicorn for our Link 3. Again, just generic spot removal, just different ways to combat your opponent, maybe break boards, maybe, you know, deal with different things in different ways. And for our big boss, we have Borrow Sword Dragon for those OTKs. For instant fusion, we've got Thousand Eyes Restrict, which also goes into Link Karibo. And because you can make it a frog or a toad, something, you can make Totally Awesome, which I don't own and it didn't come with the deck, but I think is definitely a good choice for the deck because you can set it up and then you can use Totally Awesome to tribute itself and like recur your Rip Roaring Rooster because it adds a water back, so you put that back in your extra deck, and again it just allows you to consistently manage your resources. And your dropsies, your water Prank Kid is level 2, so it's not very difficult to get like 2 of those out to make that rank 2. So got a lot of different options. Again, the deck is not a linear deck. The deck isn't very, this is your one game plan, you know, it's not like you turbo out the one strategy. It's not the Orchest combo, which is just very good at doing the same thing. It's Prank Kids, and it does its own thing, and you know, I think that kind of exemplifies the deck, that it does its own thing. It is like a little prankster in and of itself. So guys, let's take it to the outro. So guys, that is the video for today. As always, if you liked it, give it a like. As always, if you loved it, give it a share and tell everyone you know about Team Tally today. If you want to join Team Tally, the subscribe button's down there. Go ahead, I know you want to hit that. And as always guys, you have been amazing and I have been Tally. I'll catch you all later. Bye.